Okay, do we have any changes to the agenda? I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Fitzgerald to adopt the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Just for the record, Melody, Mayor Pro Tem John Hunt is not here. He's at a family reunion in Ohio. We have nobody signed up for public comments. Okay. I will entertain a motion at this point in time to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Burrow to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chief Vice.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, we have a couple of officers that we're wanting to introduce tonight to replace the people that moved on. So if I could have Josh Bullock. This is Officer Bullock. He comes to us from the Union County Sheriff's Office. He's in school right now, and he started with us, I think, 2 weeks ago. And then we have Officer Ferguson. He's come to us from Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office, and he started a couple weeks ago as well. And then we have Officer Cisco. She's a rescue dog that we were able to obtain. She's going to have several duties with the police department. She'll give tours. She's going to be the PR dog. She'll give tours. She'll go into the DARE classrooms. And we're working on teaching her to track right now. So I ask that you welcome them to the town of Waxhaw and the Waxhaw Police Department.
Chief, before you leave, Commissioner Stewart and I have the privilege of being in the Citizens Academy program this period, and last night we went through the hiring process, and I have no doubt after seeing the quality that you guys, with Wendy's help, have instilled in that process, that these officers are just a top-notch addition to the town of Waxhaw. So thank you for all of the effort on that, and welcome aboard.
You heard that, right? Don't screw it up. Thank you.
Okay, next up, a presentation on the retail recruitment update from Cheyenne Robinson of the Buxton Company. There we go.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Commission. It's a pleasure to be here in the town of Waxhaw today. I'm Cheyenne Robinson, your day-to-day account executive and point of contact with Buxton. Many of you may remember Rob Miller, our Director of Sales, and Cody Howell, our Senior Vice President, that visited the community in February and provided at that time an update overall to our analysis, where we were currently in our partnership. I'll touch on some of that today, but most importantly, we want to highlight what are some of the additional best practices that we can take to have the best success in our retail recruitment strategy. Now, as a reminder, you all partnered with us in December of 2015 to utilize our retail expertise of working with over 3,000 retailers over the past 20 years in site selection and market optimization. So we know what retailers are looking for in the marketplace. Utilizing our industry knowledge and expertise, we've analyzed the town from the lens of the retailer to understand who are your consumers so that you have overall a mix of some of the most wealthiest households in the U.S. as well as a mix of affluent households that are middle-aged with families and also couples. Where we know where those consumers are coming from, so looking beyond the political boundaries of around 15,000, we know that in 10 minutes around Waxhaw, there's a potential of over 50,000 customers for a retailer. We also took into consideration those what else market factors that are important to a retailer when considering a location. So things such as the competitive presence. Who are the businesses that they're going to have to share with? Can you support that additional type of retailer? What are the additional other businesses that are here that increase foot traffic for your market? As well as the accessibility. How easy is it to get there? Looking at the road scores, traffic volumes. From here, we analyzed our database with thousands of retailers, and we determined those targeted retailers so that you now have that strategic approach to recruiting and retaining retail into your community. So the retailers we identified were a mix of dining options to looking at soft goods as well as hardware, gym, a great diverse mix of retailers that we had identified. We also developed specific marketing packages for each of those retailers, and we've been working with city staff and trying to actively attract these retailers to your community. Now, I'll touch on later where we are in some of those conversations and our recruitment efforts, but as I said, today we want to focus on what are some additional steps to success that we can be thinking of to be proactive. So first and foremost, of course, have to map out that plan for success, set the direction, know what our strategy is. So we've assisted in doing the guesswork for you and looking at the thousands of retailers that are out there that aren't currently here, but they should be based on the conditions that are present in your retail trade area. Now, we also want to establish those, be realistic. So knowing the retailers that are a fit today, those that may not be a fit at this time and why, so that we can work towards achievable goals. And you also want to think about defining those roles and partnerships. So knowing, for example, maybe one member of our team is really great at making those introductions and building those relationships. Maybe another member is really great at closing those deals and making that deal happen. So defining those roles and also working with your partners. So whether it's with industry experts to your area brokers and developers, you want to have those partnerships so that you overall have success and allocating those resources accordingly. Now, additionally, we have to understand the retail site selection process. So the most deciding factor in retail site selection is understanding where's the best place to do business. So what communities to open in, which to not open in at this time, to know where am I going to be able to maintain and create profitability throughout the lifespan of a shopping center or development. Now, over the years, retailers have now developed more strategic approaches and more scientific approaches to making their decisions. So it's not just about the location, but does that location have the right type of customers? So knowing that two households could have the same demographics, but they may live two very different lives. So do I have the right type of customers? Is there enough consumers in the trade area for my brand? There are also other factors that you have to look at, from how easy is it to get there, the accessibility, what is the visibility of the site, looking at what are the traffic volumes, do I have a location nearby, am I going to cannibalize sales from that existing store, is there too much competition, not enough competition for example, what are the infrastructure needs, what are the location costs going to be? These are all factors that go into that decision making for a retailer. Now let's look at an example, Trader Joe's. I know that's one that's commonly, it comes up from request, and we'll see how we look and compare to their customers in the region. So what you're looking at as an example is on the left, the blue bars represent the type of customers within 10 minutes around Waxhaw. The green bars represent the average customers that are locating within 10 minutes around Trader Joe's within North Carolina and South Carolina. So what you'd like to see and understanding you have the same customers that they're looking for is an alignment of those bars and lines. What that would tell you is that we have a match of that customer base. Now there are some favorable attributes. One, we're seeing the lines for Waxhaw do skew to the left. Now one of the many variables that goes into this profile that we're seeing here is income. So the left is going to portray a higher affluency. So we're seeing that we have those higher levels of income, but we want to look at that profile and have a stronger correlation between their consumers and ours. Now additionally, on the right-hand side, what you're looking at is a comparison of the demographics. Did you have a question?
Yeah, can you explain the x-axis? all these little numbers that go across the bottom, what does that
Oh,
mean?
absolutely. So if you see it here, there's a letter and a code associated with each of these different 71 segments. Now, excuse me, what we're looking at essentially is all the households in the U.S. Each home has a code and a creative name associated with them. So AO1, for example, called Platinum Prosperity, those are some of your most affluent type of consumers in the U.S. We're seeing here that they make up about over 8% of the households in 10 minutes around Waxhaw. And in the average trade area in the region for Trader Joe's, this consumer makes up less than 6% of the average households for Trader Joe's. Now, what these creative names and codes, they tell us much more than that. There's tens and thousands of different variables that describe who they are as consumers and what their buying habits are, lifestyle characteristics, and traits. And we group it into these different segments so that it's actionable and you can understand the profile of the customers to make strategic decisions. So we're seeing here how the profile lines for Trader Joe's versus Waxhaw. And then on the graph here representing the demographics, you're seeing here that in Waxhaw we have a total population close to around 51,000 in 10 minutes. We're looking at the average trade area for Trader Joe's around close to 100,000. So and then looking at the civilian employed population over 16, we're at around 22,000, whereas the average trade area for Trader Joe's is around 47,000. Now, there are some other attributes that are and variables that are favorable. So we can see here that we boast a higher percentage of white-collar workers. We also have a higher percentage of consumers with a bachelor's degree, 36% versus their average at 29%. Higher levels of income, but a lower level of retail demand. So what this tells us overall is that we do have some similar makeup of customers. We do have some of those attributes that they do prefer, such as higher levels of income, college degrees. However, there's just not enough of these right type of customers to sustain them. So once our population increases, there could potentially be an opportunity to reconsider outreach to a concept like Trader Joe's. So overall, this is showing an example of one piece of that analysis that retailers are looking for and need to have in your markets to sustain a location.
What do the percentages mean on the graph, the 53 versus 13?
So the 53%, that's telling you that AO3, that consumer is 53% of households within 10 minutes of Waxhaw, and then the 13% is going to be C11. That's called Aging of Aquarius. That is 13% of the average trade area for the Trader Joe's locations in North Carolina and South Carolina. Just for visualization purposes, lowered the percentages on those, and those just exceeded that there. So, any further questions on?
But even if we increase our population, our density is not equal to what they're looking for in their market share. Their density is a lot higher than what we even get close. We're only 660 compared to 2,300 density. I mean, I don't think that we would ever match them with what we put out, because we have single-family homes on basically quarter-acre lots. So
That's an important thing to note as well. So in addition to understanding the site selection decisions, how they're analyzing your market, we have to also think about removing those barriers to entry. Speed to market is an important factor in making decisions as well for a retailer. Now, we see overall that viable sites are more important than incentives. So ensuring that you can communicate you have a viable location in most cases are more important. Now, we see a lot of communities, and what we recommend to our community clients is to have an incentive policy in place prior to negotiations if that's something you're going to do. So ensuring that you know before negotiations begin what that incentive policy looks like, what you're willing to offer, and that can also be used as a marketing tool as well to the retailer. And additionally, you want to think of, use those incentives to achieve goals, but also think about streamlining the rules. So from the permitting process to signage, lighting, as well as landscaping. So not only do we have to have that plan in place, understand the decision making for a retailer, think about removing those barriers of entry, but we also have to communicate an effective presentation to the right retailers. So we've identified the best retailers for us to engage with. We've been actively utilizing the market validation. Now, in those conversations and in those presentations, it's important to stay focused on those retailers that are best fit for the current economic conditions that are present. So we're allocating our time where it needs to be spent. But we also have to think about that prospect, who we're engaging with, provide need-to-know information. What does that mean to the retailer? So showing them our validation, which details the locations they have most similar to all the economic conditions that are here, but also think about ways to differentiate your community, make your community stand out among the others. Looking at as you're engaging with them, you want to be sure to listen to them as well. Be prepared to hear what they have to say. Maybe there are updates that need to be made based on their brand so that they can be successful. And continue to be enthusiastic and market proactively. So make it happen. Having that commitment from the public sector, leveraging your relationships with the private sector as well, developing those relationships and cultivating them from networking at ICSC events to other conferences as well. So you want to have that plan in place and continue to work that plan. Now, I've seen a number of different ways that communities have marketed their town, so from their community website to conferences, as well as paid advertising, a number of approaches to also market to developers and brokers. Most importantly, as I said, you have to have that plan in place, work your plan persistently. So overall, in the retail landscape, changes tend to be incremental. Quantum leaps are very rare. So for example, just say, for instance, we were to add 1,000 new units into Waxhaw. Right now, we're at about an average of 3 people per household. So that would mean around 3,000 increase in our population and would equate to about a 25% increase in our total retail demand. So we still wouldn't be at that population threshold for a Trader Joe's, for example. And most importantly, we have to continue to execute our plan to be successful. So overall, as we've been engaging with the retailers, the first step is to see, are they interested in our community? If they're not, we want to see what can we do to get them interested into our market. Then very interested to making that decision. And then from there, it's all about speed to market into the town. Now, additionally, we have to remember to celebrate the small wins along the way.
I got a question for you. So if you could go back one chart. So given that we know we're at about 300 homes, 400 homes per year for the foreseeable future, next 5 years, 4 years, what strategy do you recommend, or have you developed a strategy with Kurt and team, knowing that that's where we're going to be? Our growth is going to be constant. It's going to be 300 homes, 1,000 people instead of 1,000 homes and 3,000 people. So we're going to grow at about 8% a year, and we know that. So do we have a strategy? Have we built a strategy? Or how far into this best practice are we? Maybe that's a better way to ask the question.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we're just using an example as to what that could mean for the population, for the retail demand. We do factor into our analysis projections for future years' growth, but this is one thing that has come up, and looking at the numbers that we have currently and seeing how could that potentially change things so that can be leveraged in retail conversations as well. So we have looked at some of the leakage and surplus numbers and calculated what that could look like with some of the housing growth.
Okay. Thank you.
So additionally, we have to remember to celebrate those small wins along the way. So the new housing development that's coming in, as well as the retail conversations that we're having, those that are interested in our community. But we can't celebrate those small wins forever. We want to celebrate those with caution and think about, okay, how do we take this win and move it to the next step so we can achieve our long-range goals. Now, please forgive the missing celebrate here and the subtitle. But next we'll take a look at where we are currently in our retail conversations. So we began implementation in around February, so at this point, we're only 6 months in, so what that means is we're still very early in the retail recruitment process. Now, in the initial attempts from Kurt's efforts, he received 11 out of 20 responses just initially. Now, you can see most of the times in any sales process, it can take 8 to 12 attempts to get just initial contact, so receiving 11 initially is very successful. And then being able to come out of those 11 and have 2 meetings set at a regional conference is fantastic and definitely shows interest. Now, out of those retailers that we've been engaging with, there have been several that have expressed interest. So ranging from a quick service restaurant, we were able to supply information to show the viability of the site. Now, there was zoning that prevented them from locating. They still are interested in the event that may change. They're also a fast casual restaurant looking at electronics, hardware, and sporting goods brands that are very interested in your market. Some of those may need a franchisee in order to open a location. Now, we also learned from some of the retailers why they may not be interested at this time. This range from daytime population, maybe not quite where they're needing it at this time, to needing a stronger co-tenant. So looking at more apparel retailers in the area, then that particular brand would be interested to take another look. So continuing to stay proactive, engage with them. And also, there was a grocer that's new to the market. Their plans are to start in the Charlotte area. Right now, they've communicated that Waxhaw is just a little too far south for them, but we've already made that connection, provided that contact to you all, and you are on their radar. They know where you're located when they start to expand further south. So as we're continuing to implement and engage with these retailers, we're going to continue to support you all from sending follow-up letters to the retailers, providing additional contacts, whether it's our retail matches or other companies you'd like to engage with, and supporting you with the area brokers and developers, helping with newer proposed developments downtown as well. But where do we want to go from here? Want to continue to bridge those gaps?
Sorry, I got another
Go
question. Of the 2 meetings, have you gone back and looked at best practice number 4 and perhaps identified our presentation and where the collective we could maybe improve that presentation of Waxhaw and develop some actions?
That's a great question. So we were actually the team did attend the ICSC Waxhaw. Buxton was not in attendance with the team at the conference, but that's something we certainly would love to work with you all on. So understanding what exactly when you went up to a retailer, were you communicating to them, and it's something we can absolutely help with in improving that.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to ask, excuse me, I'd like to ask one question, sort of a follow-up to the mayor's. When you talked about Trader Joe's as a specific example, and you cited a 10-minute radius, which probably includes Marvin, Weddington, Wesley Chapel, Mineral Springs, who we all know are not interested in any density, are we in Waxhaw swimming upstream? Are we going to be held back by those 4 communities that surround us and their attitude about density?
So their attitude about growth?
Growth.
In that
Density and growth. There are either 1-acre lots or 2-acre lots.
Back to R300, we're not going to get that much more out of the
Right.
surrounding municipalities.
Right.
It's hard to say. I mean, I can see that definitely being could potentially be an impact if the areas around aren't growing. But the way the direction and growth is coming, so with Charlotte being one of the fastest growing cities in the nation. It's coming this way. You guys are already seeing that growth that's in the area, so it's going to happen. Whether, the other communities, if they may have obstacles that put in place, you eventually, seeing that all the areas are growing and developing, I would imagine that hopefully they will come along and grow with you guys and see how important that is as well.
Just the last part of it, a lot of our residents have expressed a desire to have a Trader Joe's.
Right.
So if we really want to have a Trader Joe's, and we're not going to get a lot of help from the surrounding communities, it seems to me we're left on our own to meet the parameters of a Trader Joe's.
So, well, and two, though, thinking about, so maybe we're not a fit for Trader Joe's, we can focus on the retailers that do fit our profile, and we can work on seeing, okay, these are the ones that best fit our community today. If we want to work towards the other types of retailers, we can take a look to see, okay, maybe for Trader Joe's we're just not a quite fit for population, but maybe there's another retailer that's of interest that maybe we are fit from the profile standpoint, and maybe it's just the population is just slightly not there, but maybe we'd be there in a few years.
So we're faced with a choice. We either go with those that want to be here, or we exponentially increase our density
Well, and
on our own.
one thing too, so if you look at most Trader Joe's locations, one, they are in higher populations, but two, a lot of times they're co-locating with like a crate and barrel with an REI, Apple stores, so those would have to, not only would the population have to be there, they'd also have to have those co-tenants as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
So as far as where we want to go from here, we want to continue to bridge those gaps of communication, evolve our strategy ongoing. We'll communicate with the staff on a weekly basis minimum to ensure we're all on the same page, working our plan that's in place. But we also want to support other initiatives that are going on as well, such as the partnership with Union County. So we've worked with the teams to develop a plan in place. We'll be coming out hopefully in the upcoming months, scheduling that here very soon with the county to present a Retail 101 workshop. So providing an understanding to the county how we need to be thinking of what retailers are looking for, how we can make improvements in the county to grow overall and be successful with retail development and growth throughout the county.
Warren, maybe you know the answer to this question. Is the Union County EDC looking at this retail relationship to develop a regional plan, or is it the municipalities that are in there developing their own plan?
Well, they're interested in serving the municipalities that are part of that partnership,
Gotcha.
which is mostly on the Indian Trail side of the county.
Yeah.
And us.
Okay.
So as far as where we want to go from here, so in December we'll be approaching the anniversary of our partnership. It's important for us to continue developing that retail recruitment strategy, adding additional retailers to our pipeline and our efforts, and continuing to support you and evolve that strategy as we continue the conversations and relationships that have been made in this year, and in adding to that as well. And then in the following year, we're going to continue to develop that plan and strategy, add additional retailers to our efforts that we're focused on that meet the community as profile, and also leveraging the relationships that have been made in the previous years as well. So where we are currently, we've completed our market analysis. We've been engaging and implementing our solution 6 full months at this point. Now, in retail recruitment, it is a process. It's not a one-time study or one-time event. So it's important that year over year we're continuing to implement our plan and work our solution proactively to have the best results and success here in the town of Waxhaw. Now, at this time, if there's any further questions for myself or for Kurt on our current efforts, love to answer those at this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, reports, commissioner reports. Commissioner Warner,
I have nothing this evening.
Commissioner Stewart,
I'm good.
Commissioner Fitzgerald, I don't think, do you want to talk tonight?
Well, I'll talk a little bit. I had oral work done lately, and I just want to hope that everybody has a safe and happy holidays coming up on Labor Day, especially the safe.
Thank you.
Couple things. First off, for anybody that's driven on Kensington Drive yesterday or today, I want to thank Mr. Wood, Mr. Rory, Matt, and especially Todd for, after 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, finally making that road drivable. Thank you all very much. It's a pleasure. The second thing is I've been noticing the correspondence back and forth about the planning board and planning board training, and I would ask you all to just pick up the pace and be a little bit more demanding of the planning board members. They shouldn't just be offered training if they want it. They should be training that they have to take. That was the whole purpose of engaging COG. They just need to understand that. And the third thing is reading through last week's manager's report, there were several things in there, one of which I would like to just clarify a little bit when you talk about the ongoing conversations with the Museum of the Waxhaws. Personally, I think I'd like to see that happen, but what wasn't reflected in the report was that there are conditions that need to be met along the way, which involve fiscal responsibility and shared philosophy and shared values that really need to be worked on. So that was it. Thank you very much.
Okay. I got a few items. In the consent agenda, we approved the rules of procedure for the OAC committee. Next meeting, we will need to make the structural change to bring forward that committee. We have 3 existing members that we can bring forward, and then we have to find 2 more to make it a full committee of 5. Town hall meetings, we conducted 2 more last week. Anklin Forest and Quellen had good turnouts at both. And neither Warren nor I were thrown into the pool, and they were done at the clubhouse, so we escaped fairly well. Consistent themes, holding more around the well-being, parks and recreation type activities, get the fields. Because everybody knew we were going to work on Kensington, the question didn't come up. And I do have a curiosity question on Kensington. Are we up in the speed limit, or is it are all the police officers off at radar training right now? Because it is nice.
I'm not prepared to answer that.
Oh, okay. I know, I'm just, transportation, a key issue, and the issues of the train blockage as well as 16 and 75 continue to be raised over and over. We are starting to get a little bit more of an appreciation for the environmental side, the work that Todd's team does, but also maybe to start expanding it. We had a very interesting discussion at Anklin Forest about a possible advisory committee on how to engage the community to do a better job there, which we will look into over the course of the next several months, obviously, as we can evolve it. And then heritage activities and well-being is resonating, and I will add that Jenny Buckhold, who is going to present a little bit later, when she presented that marketing and branding strategy to the Waxhaw Business Association last week, received a standing ovation, which was really great to see, and great to see the business community embracing the direction of the town. In the spirit of Buxton being here, I dug through my notes and went back to our last economic development workshop, which was October 27th, 2015, right before the election. I thought, how are we doing against our goals? Because we haven't taken a chance to step back and actually see, are we making progress? And the good news is, while we might not have a Trader Joe's and we might not have the profile, we're making progress against a number of the things that we talked about. We've hired a retail consultant. We've named Union County EDC as our linchpin for more of the industrial economic development. We've completed the parking study, and we've got some work to do there. We've taken advantage of past plans and developed a streetscape approach and applied for a grant, received a grant, and we'll start the implementation. These were all things on our 6-month project list that we've tackled and completed. We've established a Waxhaw brand, and we're rolling it out. We have a capital improvement plan with items towards economic development. We haven't had the workshop to gauge progress, but I would submit to the fellow board members that we probably had more than enough workshops, and so probably we've discussed this topic regularly, and it's just a matter of just making sure we pause and understand where we are. We are working with the county on water and sewer constraints, and we will have a plan from them. We're behind on the comp plan and land use. We said we would get it done by the April timeframe. We're a little bit behind, but it goes to the planning board in the next few months. I know we had a millennial task force study. I don't know what we're doing with it. So, it's kind of one of those that we probably need to revisit. And we're starting to do the work on the town properties. We're ahead of the game on the UDO. That should, we said we'd be done in 2 years. We'll have that done in 18 months, so we'll be 6 months ahead of time, which is back to the Buxton comment about making sure that you can streamline things. And we will be, on our 1 to 3 year plan, implementing the streetscape, implementing the brand. The one item that just jumped at me that we haven't touched, we discussed a Waxhaw corporate park, and probably just need to pause and go back at some point in time and say, what does that mean, and how does that fit in, and do we have the land use properly set up for that, et cetera. But I go through all that to just say hats off to the staff for taking that plan and actually executing against many of the items, and we're making some significant progress. It doesn't feel like it on a day-to-day basis sometimes because these are very structural things that we're tackling, but it's a job well done, and I will keep the scorecard going. So with that, I'll turn it over to Warren.
Thank you, Mayor Maher, members of the board, Mr. Spencer. Just a town manager's report tonight, reporting out on a number of different projects. You heard Kensington Drive. Kensington Drive is almost too pretty to drive on right now. It does look really good. And special thanks to Dennis and Todd and Matt Hubert. They've been riding herd on that, making sure that the contractor's doing what he's supposed to be doing out there. So work began this past Friday, scheduled to be completed tomorrow. They'll do I think the final piece of that for the first phase here is just some striping that'll take place. And the current work that was done consisted of some full depth patching in the worst spots and obviously resurfacing. The next component of this first phase will involve continuing to work to stabilize the road, which will involve some ditch and shoulder work to improve the drainage on that road. And related to that, we're in the process of securing some construction easements to proceed with that. That basically gives us permission to go on someone's property from a construction perspective and do the work we need to do. And then in addition to that, we're working on securing some maintenance easements so the road's drainage system can be properly maintained in the future. And that's something that we haven't had I'm assuming that no drainage work has been done because we don't have any maintenance easements that would allow us to go on private property and properly maintain the drainage system on that roadway. So we'll get that in place, and then moving forward, that won't be an issue. And public services, Todd is promising that the temporary no parking designation along Kensington Drive and the Curtin Town Center area, which the board previously approved, will be completed by Friday. I saw there were some signage, no parking signs that are going up, so there you go, Todd. No pressure. All right. Thank you. So now let's start talking about the next phase of this. So the next phase will focus on the Curtin Town Center piece of this, and it will involve permanently removing the on-street parking and widening the road. It may also include the installation of an additional eastbound right turn lane on Highway 16, which would be a part of a development previously approved by the board. The goal with this phase, when it comes to pass, is not to close the road, but proceed with some lane management, much like you would have seen today if you were out there. And also keep in mind, there's a lot of moving parts here, so keep in mind that the town has submitted for some additional funding through the CRTPO that hopefully could be applied to that project that we should.
That process starts in September.
Okay. So hopefully we would be successful in that endeavor to put even more money into that road. So that's where we are with Kensington Drive in terms of the upcoming phase there. Any questions so far? Okay. Construction of the leaf composting facility. Two kind of bureaucratic things to check off the list. So we've received our erosion control permit from the state and our driveway permit. So we've got the green light to move forward from the state on that project. We're finalizing the construction contract with Gregor's Grading, a local company, to build that facility. We expect construction to begin this month and to be completed by October 21st, and then have the site registered with the Department of Environmental Quality in time for the fall leaf season. So after the facility is up and running, we'll explore the feasibility of relocating the Public Services Department to this location. Obviously, there's a whole funding step that would be involved in that through the budget process, but we're just talking about looking at the feasibility of relocating the public services to that location, what that would look like. So we're moving forward with that. Just an update on the YMCA Town of Waxhaw partnership. Just quick history. We entered into a joint use agreement with the YMCA for the property behind Harris Teeter and beside that facility for the Y. In 2015, we purchased 13 acres from Wells Fargo in December. Did I say 2013? 2015, okay. In May of 2016, the town entered into a design services agreement with Land Design to develop the construction documents, and that process is underway. And in May, also, we accepted 3.5 acres from Union County that made our 13 acres 16.5 acres, and that was a great coup for the town because it allowed us to get an additional field on that facility and really maximize what we're doing with the property. So that was great and we're appreciative to Union County about that. We anticipate the construction documents will be completed by the summer of 2017. And one of the holdups, there's some environmental work related to floodplain that has to be done before we can fully complete the construction documents. So that's kind of causing a lull in the process. That's why the construction documents are taking so long to complete. But once we have I think it's some LOMAR information, we'll be in a position to move forward with that. So we anticipate by the summer of 2017 the construction documents will be complete and we'll be in a position to bid that project out. So construction ideally would begin in early fall 2017 and looking at a 2018 completion date. And yeah.
Will the floodplain work that you have to get done, will that benefit the Y as well? Do they have to go through the same process or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, in fact, the parties are working to do a joint application since they're so overlapping, and intend to get the permit at the same time to cover both parcels.
Thank you.
Mayor, I know you had a conversation with the Y on fundraising.
Yeah, I happened to have a conversation with Steve Bowers, their vice president in charge of this project today, and what he passed on two things. One, their land finalization is mirroring schedule-wise ours. They plan to wrap theirs up as well in the next couple of weeks. They want to come down and meet with you and Natalie once that's completed, a couple of weeks after Labor Day is what they said. And then at that time, they feel once that's completed, then they can jumpstart the fundraising effort. So they anticipate that heavy work will start in the September timeframe as well. So they're moving right along as well.
Okay, thank you. Shared parking agreement with the Waxhaw Women's Club. The Waxhaw Women's Club has agreed to the terms of the original letter of intent that the town had offered them and negotiated with them. So staff is in the process of developing a shared parking agreement for both parties to sign. An approval of this agreement would require the town to pay for paving their gravel lot. And this agreement would produce public parking for 4 major town events during the year, as well as times when there are no rentals being held at the club. So that developing that shared parking agreement is in process, and that will come forward, be presented to the board at an upcoming meeting. And finally, just for your September 13th work session, Dennis and his folks will be doing a status update on all the work they've been doing in developing the town's growth management system, including such things as construction and design standards, construction inspection program, sediment and erosion control, code enforcement, floodplain management, and the whole 9 yards. So you'll get a presentation at your work session on September 13th on where we are, and they're making great headway with that. So
Is Studio Cascade coming back for that work session as well, or when is that scheduled?
right now, we're looking at the first week in, maybe the first week in September, possibly the second week in September. So we'll have Melody send something out to the board on your availability.
Okay.
Try to get that locked in probably tomorrow.
Okay,
That's okay.
thank you. That's an additional work session, so I just want to emphasize that.
Yeah, and the purpose of this visit will be for a workshop on the bridge document to get that finalized.
Great. Any questions for Warren? Thank you very much. Okay, next item up. Public hearing for Kensington 2 subdivision, voluntary annexation petition 18-217. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion for Commissioner Burrow. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, this property is owned by Cal Atlantic Homes and the Ryland Group. It's one parcel of land equaling approximately 25.245 acres, parcel ID 061920008, located on Waxhaw Marvin Road, surrounded by Quellen and across Waxhaw Marvin Road from Anklin Forest. As you can see, it was parceled out under Union County, and it will be vested under Union County zoning. This annexation won't actually take effect until 2017. There was a public hearing advertised in accordance with applicable law, published in the Inquirer Journal on Saturday, August 13, 2016. Requested actions are to close the public hearing, August 23, 2016, and motion to approve or deny the petition.
So we have nobody signed up to discuss this, but is there anybody at this time that wishes to speak on the topic in the audience? Are there any questions from the board? I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Burrow. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now in the old business, action on the Town of Waxhaw YMCA rezoning petition RZ 004736-2016. This has been in front of us as a public hearing. Remind everybody that that the 3.523 acres was donated to the town by Union County, and it's in the covenant that it must be used for park property, right, or in the deed?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any additional comments to add, Max, that you want to take us through?
No, I was just going to give a brief
Okay.
recap. It's a general rezoning request for the initial zoning of approximately 3.523 acres, a portion of parcel 06162-005T from Union County R40, which is a single-family district, to the Waxhaw C3 General Commercial District. And this is where it's located: Cureton Shopping Center to the east, the Union County wastewater treatment plant to the west, Cureton residential to the north, and the Prescott commercial property across 12 Mile Creek to the south. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning, and the planning board voted at their July 18th regular meeting 5-0 unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning. And that's all I have.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Oliver? There are no questions. I will be happy to entertain a motion to approve or disapprove petition RZ 004736-2016.
I'd like to make a favorable motion that the rezoning petition RZ 004736, 2016 be approved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Warner. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. So, in addition, Commissioner Warner, I would entertain a motion from you that that the zoning petition is consistent with the comprehensive plan and future planning goals of the town of Waxhaw. It is reasonable in the public interest as the property is a portion of the abutting property, which is zone CU3, C3.
I'll agree to that.
Okay? We have the motion on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, next up. Action on Kensington 2, voluntary annexation petition 18-217. Lisa, do you have anything, this has been in front of us, do you have anything, I just wanted you to have the opportunity to come up in case you had anything to add to it.
No. If you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Lisa? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make the motion to adopt the ordinance extending the corporate limits of the town of Waxhaw as described in the proposed annexation ordinance 2016014 to be effective June 30th, 2017.
We have a motion on the table from Commissioner Burrow. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Marketing and communication update. Jenny Buckle. Boo cold. I don't like to boo ya.
Yep. Hello.
Booyah.
Good evening. Yeah, it really is. Maher, Maher. I'm just joking.
Any further questions for Miss Boo Cold?
Good evening, everyone. All right, I'm going to give you a quick update. So originally, Haven Creative was brought on to deal with the brand management overall, and what really that means is implementing the branding in every town initiative, right, because it's more than a tagline and a logo. So we've been coordinating with staff to ensure the brand is woven into the UDO and in other design programs that we're working with, doing all the design and implementation of the new logo and website, working with the developers there to get that going. Brand presentations and educating on what a brand is and doing that out into the community as well. And we're also doing the brand event planning and then the brand merchandise design. I've also been doing all the communications management, so we've been serving as division of the town manager's office and working with staff to do internal and external communications. So with that, there's social media management, writing of press releases and submitting those, crisis communications when those come up.
Can I ask a question? We talked about the slight adjustment we have to make on the seal.
Yes.
Did you talk with Chaplin, and can we do that via consent, or?
So the seal says the town of Waxhaw. It's customary for it to say town of or city of. So it's a matter of taking the off.
But we're the
So-
only one.
So, Chaplin, do we need to bring that back as a motion, or can we reach consensus and move forward?
We can reach consensus tonight, and if we need to bring it back, we're not lost any further. I want to make sure there aren't any special statutes on seals, because some of these things have strange statutes. But you won't be any further behind if you do it now, and I'll verify tomorrow.
We all comfortable with that, and then if not, you'll bring it, if need be, you'll bring it, okay.
I think we're fine. There's
I just want to get that out of the way.
I'm
so.
sorry, wait, what did we
Continue.
just decide? Is it the or not the?
You just keep rolling.
Okay. All right, so crisis communications, communication policy and plan, and graphic design services, which I kind of went over a little bit, and village news, we're doing the layout design, content, and photography in that as well. The communications plan, so that right now we're in the draft phase. It was reviewed by everyone on staff, and we're going to be implementing those edits after September 2nd, and then look to release that within October timeframe. Social media, so overall in the last, Haven Creative started doing social media in April, and since then we've increased our followers on every one of our outlets. On Facebook we've gone from 8,300 to 9,400. On Twitter, 1,000 to 1,200 there. Instagram as well went up from 1,100 to 1,400. And some of that on Instagram is that we've been doing contests and giveaways as a way to pull in our retailers and give them some promotional time as well. Overall, our engagement has increased from the average daily of 1,500 a day from last year at this same time period to now 2,500 this year a day. So that increased engagement really gives us that chance to communicate with our residents more frequently. So the website in itself, which we all are excited about to see a new design, because I've been stressing we're now entering in 2005 with our new design. It will be responsive. In other words, you'll be able to see it on all of your mobile devices, and the website timeline right now is we're trending. It originally was in October. We've bumped it up to now September 2nd. You will see a new design, which is amazing. Staff will be trained on how to make updates and edits to that site, so that'll happen around September 23rd, and we call that really our beta time frame, so we can make any tweaks or edits to the site, with the official final launch being October 9th. We've also implemented this brand implementation plan, so you see all the efforts that we're working on. There's quite a few things that we have to swap out and update and design, so this timeline kind of throws that out there to you, which I believe you probably have gotten in the brand implementation packet. And then we are still trending towards our September 2nd brand launch event, which is going to highlight all those brand pillars, right? Heritage, activities, and well-being. Heritage is going to be represented because it's going to be in our historic downtown. We have historical figures walking through Main Street. We're going to be doing a Dunkin' McDonald house tours that evening. We'll also have our Main Street representation in the education booth by town staff. The activities will have a family movie night in the Water Tower lot, musicians performing throughout Main Street, carriage and pony rides, artists creating on Main, and then we also have live music. To represent well-being, we're doing health and wellness providers and demos. We also have bike safety demos and free helmets to the first 100 people that will show up. Fitness boot camps, farmers market is a huge part of that, farm-to-table foods. They'll be giving out samples to the first 300 people. And our Parks and Rec will be represented in our education booth as well. So it'll be a fun night, so please come out September 2nd. And that is it in a nutshell.
Any questions? Well, I know it's a team effort, so thank you Natalie and Lisa. This is yeoman's work, and I think everybody's going to be okay if we change the website. Not just have a hunch, but
We're excited.
Job well done. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. We have no new business, no need to go into closed session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion from Commissioner Fitzgerald to adjourn at 7:28. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Adjourn.